Let me just check and set it up over here just to make sure everything is going the way it's supposed to. Okay. And it seems like we're good over here. Okay, great. So, hello, welcome to my channel, Shades of Sage. My name is Tashima McRae. I'm a doula and mama of four. And this is my fourth time exclusively breastfeeding. So my youngest is almost 6 months. He'll be 6 months on Friday. And I am a big proponent of breastfeeding. This is actually Black Breastfeeding Week, so I have been going live every single day this week. Hi, Esther. Hello, how are you tonight? Thank you for joining. I know I'm a little late, but the baby literally woke up while I was getting dressed and ready. So I was like, let me just change him, feed him, and put him back down. So he is still awake, but we'll see if he stays asleep. Thank you so much. I was looking at my videos and I was like, why am I wearing all this blue? So I was like, I gotta change it up and wear something else. So I'm wearing pink tonight. Pink makes me happy when I put on pink. So I'm in a good mood. I love wearing pink. When I hated it when I was little. But yeah, so all this week I've been going live to talk about breastfeeding, to kind of celebrate Black Breastfeeding Week. This is actually the first year that I participated in it because I never heard of it before. And on this channel, I do a lot of breastfeeding tips, a lot of breastfeeding help and support and encouragement. Because that is part of my jobs as a doula, is just making sure, hey, I know you having fun out there. I love those pictures. Just keep them coming. I'm living through you. But thank you so much, Mom, for joining the live also as well. So yeah, so that's one of the things that we do with our clients is, go over breastfeeding, help them get that first initial latch if they need help in the hospital postpartum, and then following them, 2 to 3 months postpartum, and making sure that they're okay, that they're healing well from birth, that they're recovering well, mentally, physically, emotionally, and then also helping with breastfeeding. So breastfeeding is just a passion of mine. I am one of 10, so I have 9 brothers and sisters, and I'm one of the oldest. I'm actually the oldest girl. So I always saw my mom breastfeed. She breastfed each and every last one of us, which kudos to her. I don't know how she did that because I'm at my fourth and I'm like, woo, I can't wait to have my body back to myself. But yeah, so it was a no-brainer for me when it came to when I became a mom, how I was going to feed my babies. And I have very fortunately have very easy, I would say, breastfeeding journeys. And so I just want to help other mothers with breastfeeding because I know not everyone has, a really easy journey with breastfeeding. And so that's where I come in. So that's what I do here on this channel. And tonight is the last night. So I have really enjoyed these lives with you all. And thank you for everyone who has watched, like 1 or 2 or every single live. I definitely appreciate it. So we're going to end on a high note. And tonight we're going to talk about why breastfeed. So why even consider it? What's the benefits of breastfeeding for moms, for babies, for families? Why is breastfeeding such a part of motherhood that really needs to be protected and uplifted? And especially for us as Black women, we have the lowest rates and success with breastfeeding. Like, we're the least likely to breastfeed among our peers or different ethnicities, and then we breastfeed for the shortest amount of time. And there are some cultural and historical reasons why that is for the Black community, but I just really want to make sure that Black moms especially feel supported, that they feel seen, that they feel represented, and that's what my channel is all about. So tonight we're going to go over some fun things about breastfeeding. If you haven't seen my video I posted previously today, it's kind of a little bit of a continuation of that because I listed 10 surprising facts about breastfeeding that you may not know. So if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. There's some really cool, facts about breastfeeding in that one. But yeah, why should you breastfeed? Why is breastfeeding, just so great? And one of the things, or the biggest thing, is it's the perfect food for baby. Like, it's just something that a woman's body does. It starts making milk once the baby's delivered. So whether you have a C-section, whether you have a vaginal birth, the moment your placenta is, you know, separated from your uterine wall. And you know, placenta is really special too because it's an organ that you're not born with as a woman. That's an organ that actually grows during your pregnancy. So your body does these really amazing things. It grows a whole new organ to support your baby. Yes, thank you, Esther. Yeah, put in the comments below, you know, like list something that maybe was surprising to you or you didn't know before, because a lot of people don't know these things about breastfeeding. But it's just it's so wonderful, really. And there's so many things to learn and know about breastfeeding, and they're still making, you know, finding out new things about breastfeeding. So it's definitely special. And yeah, breastfeeding or breast milk is the perfect food for babies. So like I was saying in one of my other lives, it's always the right temperature. It's never too hot, it's never too cold. You don't have to worry about heating it up and burning the baby's tongue or whatever. It always comes out the right perfect temperature. It always has the amount of nutrients that it needs. And in today's video, I was talking about how it varies, you know, from day to day. It varies from feeding to feeding. So, you know, if your baby is sick, your milk will be different versus when your baby is healthy. Your milk will be different for your baby when they're, you know, actively in a growth spurt versus when they're not in a growth spurt. Your milk is different when they're newborns versus when they're 6 months old. And then it changes again, you know, when they're about 9 months old, where they need different things developmentally because they're experiencing different things as far as, like, you know, motor development and, you know, brain function and things like that. So breast milk is just always specifically catered to that child. And that's one of the things that formula just cannot do. Like, they can add as many you know, DHA and calcium and fortified with iron. They can add all of those extra external things, but it can never is not equivalent to breast milk, because breast milk's also a living food. So it's not a you know, it's not in powdered form. It's a living food. So like I said, it grows and changes with the baby, and it's very specific to the baby. Even if you're one of those moms who is tandem feeding, so that's feeding two babies at one time, and they may be different ages, so not like twins, but different age children. If you have one breast for a certain child and then another one for the certain child, you'll notice if you pump that they may look differently at different times based off of what that child needs. Like, it may be fattier for a child who is, you know, needing to gain more weight, or it may be, you know, just a little bit thinner for a child who's like slightly dehydrated or is sick for whatever reason. So it's really cool that your body can actually tailor make your milk for your baby. And then also, like I was saying about it being a living food, it has antibodies in it. It has, like, whatever vaccinations that mom has had, you pass some of those immunities through your breast milk also as well. And so it's just always, what's the word? It's always, like, really important for you as mom to be getting in, you know, enough calories, enough you know, fats and carbs, like the good stuff, because you're gonna pass those you know, nutrients on to your baby. So you just want to make sure that it's as good quality milk as you can get based off of your diet and, you know, staying hydrated and everything like that. So yeah, it's just a perfect food, and that's why sometimes you'll hear breast milk being referred to as liquid gold, because it's perfect. Like, it has the right amount of fats, it has the right amount of proteins. Now, sometimes babies may have an allergy due to certain things that mom may eat, and give nutrients through the milk. Yeah, it's really cool, because I remember the first time Saya got, what was it, a fever. Like, I could tell that she had it, because when she got on my breast, she was so hot, and I couldn't feel that with my hands. Like, I hadn't noticed it through her clothes or, you know, touching her forehead, but when her lips actually got on my breast, I was like, whoa, this baby is heating up. And it was so crazy, and I definitely feel like my breast milk at that time was giving her what she needed. You know, we did give her Motrin, I think it was, because she was under 1 at the time, but that fever, it came and went. Like, but I definitely could tell, like, my body was doing extra work to help her through that sickness. So that is really cool. That's really amazing. So yeah, you pass down antibodies through your breast milk. You pass down really good food that you're eating, your baby will get that. And hopefully when you start introducing foods, when you start introducing solids, they'll have a little bit of a taste for certain things because they've had it, in a liquefied form through your breast milk. So it's just amazing. Another thing, I have something in parentheses here, but I'm not sure why I wrote that. Okay, so another reason, or another big reason to breastfeed, is that it's free. And I know I made that video about it not being, about the cost of breastfeeding, but as far as like mom's body is concerned, or maybe her mental health or emotional health, but as far as money is concerned, it is free. And if you've been watching what's going on in the world, there's a formula shortage. So that has had people or parents that rely on formula, that has, negatively affected them. And also formula is really expensive, especially if you're one of those who's trying to get like as healthy a formula as you can. So maybe like made from soy or made from other kind of like milk-based products, where it's like really fortified and as healthy as you can get it. They can be really expensive. And those cans don't last very long either, especially when you figure a baby's eating, or newborn baby, like anywhere between 6 to 8, bottles a day or in a 24-hour period. So not really as often as a breastfed baby, but that does add up, and it is costly. So breastfeeding alone saves families like $2,000 to $4,000 a year. So that already is a win. So sometimes I think about, man, we're really saving money by breastfeeding, because I just can't imagine like having to go out to the store and looking for something and not being there. But that, your baby obviously needs formula. So yeah, it saves family money, and in a time like this, it saves your sanity also as well, because I don't need it, I don't have to rely on it. And so yes, it's free. And another thing that I don't know if people know or women know is that it helps your uterus contract. So it helps your uterus to, it stimulates your uterus to contract and go back down to pre-pregnancy size faster than, say, a mom who's not breastfeeding. I know my mom always says those after birth cramps really kind of hurt, like the more children you have. For me, I don't feel like it increased, but I definitely did feel like, some after contractions. So after I gave birth, those first few times, or like the first couple of days that my baby would latch, you can kind of feel the cramping still in your uterus. And you know that your body's doing its job. By breastfeeding alone, you're helping your body to heal just a little bit faster postpartum, because everything is connected. So when your baby latches on, it clamps down and helps the uterus to shrink back down, because after 9 months of carrying a baby, your uterus is really, really stretched out to however big your baby was and however big your belly got. So it has to go back down to like the size of your fist pretty much. And that does take some time, but breastfeeding helps to kind of speed up that process just a little bit. You will notice some like contractions when your baby latches on those first few days, but it's all really good for you, because it helps squeeze out that extra blood that you accumulated during your pregnancy. And it helps your uterus to shrink back down, which is what you want. And you want your uterus to shrink down and to go back in its right and proper place, in the pelvis. Breastfeeding helps your body to heal. That's so beautiful. It really does. Yeah. So it's really all connected. Like, your baby helps you, you help your baby. It's great. And then after, I think it takes the uterus about 6 to 8 weeks, and I think that's where that 6 to 8 weeks of maternity leave came from. It takes the uterus about that long to shrink down. But if you're breastfeeding, you'll notice, or at least I've noticed, that I haven't bled postpartumly as long versus someone who didn't breastfeed. So that's also another benefit, is that usually, because your uterus is shrinking down and it's doing what it needs to do a little bit quicker, a little bit more efficiently, then you don't bleed as long post-birth also as well. So another benefit, and this is a benefit specifically for breastfeeding moms, is that it lowers your risk for a lot of things. Like I'm talking about when you get like in your 40s, 50s, 60s, it lowers your risk of osteoporosis. It lowers your risk of certain cancers. So like breast cancer, and what was the other cancer? uterine cancer. I think that's the, so any kind of cancer that has to do with a female's reproductive organs, it lowers your risk of getting those. It lowers your risk of diabetes and high blood pressure, which I really thought was interesting, especially for me because I did have preeclampsia. So because I did have that, I'm kind of at a little bit of a higher risk of developing diabetes or hypertension later on in life. But breastfeeding actually, the research actually shows that women who do breastfeed have lower chances of getting certain cancers and certain illnesses, you know, when they get in their elderly years. So that is also a benefit as well. And I'm not sure exactly why, like the research behind that, why that is. But I think it has to do with, you know, your body functioning like at a really optimal level. Like I feel like in order for you to breastfeed, in order for you to have, you know, a good breast milk supply, you have to be in a healthy state as much as possible. So if you're making sure that you're doing that as far as like you're eating and taking in your water, I just feel like you overall will be healthier. So that's a bonus also as well if you're breastfeeding. Those are some benefits for you as mom, you know, going forward later on in life that, you know, you may not see right now, but it really does make a difference, or it really does benefit you later on in life. So that's awesome. Some benefits for babies that are breastfed. So babies that are breastfed are generally healthier than babies who are formula fed. They have lower trips, you know, less trips to the doctor, less hospitalizations for, you know, emergency things, lower risk of SIDS, which is so important because sudden infant death syndrome, there really isn't a clear-cut cause for it. There's some things that they say can lower your risk for it, you know, like putting your baby on their back to sleep. I even think having a pacifier is supposed to be one of those things that lowers your risk. But breastfeeding alone, if you're a breastfeeding mom, the chance that your baby, you know, will pass away from SIDS goes down like by 50% or more. So it's really beneficial to breastfeed for your baby. Thanks so much for sharing the benefits. God designed to bless us and baby with by breastfeeding. God is so good. I agree 100% wholeheartedly, and that's why I'm really passionate about it, because it's a woman's right to breastfeed. It's just what her body was created and made to do. That's why the breasts are there. And so sometimes I get really discouraged with women that say breastfeeding is not for them, or I don't know, just stuff that I be hearing. It just makes me discouraged, because I'm like, that's literally what your breasts are for. They're for breastfeeding your baby. And yeah, that's a whole nother tangent, but I'm just so grateful to be able to provide that for my babies. And there's benefits for mom and babies, and also babies that are breastfed. I think they say they perform better in school and on tests and things like that. So that's definitely a plus. Yeah, I know that's right. Is it Sally Luz? Okay. Yep. I'm with you all the way. Like that's what we were made to do, and it's not something that a man could do. So, you know, we're really special in that aspect. So I feel like it's, you know, my right as a woman, as a mom, to breastfeed my children. So yeah, I just love that. Some other benefits for babies are, you know, even while they're babies, like I said, they're generally healthier. And breast milk is easier on their digestive system, which is really important because, and it's also one of the reasons why they eat so frequently, because breast milk is so easily digestible and it runs through them pretty fast, but it's really clean too. So I don't know if you've ever changed the diaper of a baby who's being breastfed versus formula fed. The diapers smell completely different. They smell completely different. And it's cleaner because there's really not much waste for babies. So in the beginning, they'll poop, you know, up to like 2 to 3 times a day, or sometimes they're pooping out just that meconium that was in their system when they were newborns. They got to get all that stuff out. But after that, when they poop, it should be light, like it should be watery consistency. It shouldn't be like really thick and lumpy and clumpy and just really, really, really stinky. because it's pretty clean. So there is some waste of, obviously, a baby will poop that's being breastfed, but it's a cleaner kind of poop because they're really able to use all of those nutrients efficiently in their bodies. And where was I going with that? The digestion. Yeah, and a lot of times with formula, it can clog babies up, especially iron, because iron is put into formula, and a lot of times superficial iron just doesn't it doesn't settle well in our bodies, even as adults. So it's even harder on a baby's digestive system, which is so new, so fragile, and it can really cause problems and harm to them. And I don't know if you've seen about the necrotizing something but basically all of this formula that has been recalled, which has contributed to the shortage, because they found out that it's not safe for babies and that it was causing them digestive issues. And parents put the two and two together and then started suing them, and so now they are not able to sell those formulas because they're deemed unsafe. And they were actually giving it to preemie babies who already have a newborn who has a sensitive digestive system, and the preemie baby's digestive system is even more sensitive than that, because they're preemies. So that means they were born before they were really physically able or ready to be born. So it's just really it's not that great on a baby's digestive system, even if you try to find the most gentle formula out there. Just because it's superficial, it can be hard on their little stomachs and their little sensitive digestive system. So that's another plus right there, is that formula, breast milk is just really easy on them, and a lot of times you don't have issues with what you're able to eat. Sometimes babies could have like a lactose certain thing. I know some moms have experienced that, where their babies are sensitive to that, so mom has to kind of stop eating those things while she's breastfeeding. But for the most part, most babies are good to go. Necrotizing enterocolitis. That's it. That just tripped me up trying to say that one. Necrotizing enterocolitis. Yes, that's what it is. And so yeah, all of those formulas have been recalled. I think the company was Abbott and Neoshore specifically, which I was actually recommended to give to my preemie baby. And when I gave it to her, she always had negative results. It was always like just really violent throwing up. So I didn't even give it to her. So I can believe the things that they have said about it, and it's just, I wouldn't want to be in that situation where I had to use it at all. And again, it's not that good, and yet it's on the market to be sold, or it was on the market to be sold. So a lot of times certain things are about money. It's like, how can we make the most amount of money with using poor ingredients or poor quality ingredients and things like that. So yeah, with breast milk, like I said, it is free. So moms and babies benefit, but the government doesn't benefit. And so I do think that sometimes formula is pushed on moms. Again, we talk about low supply, but I think sometimes it's pushed for a monetary thing. Like, they don't really help moms who are having problems or encourage them to continue to breastfeed, because that would take away from the formula industry. So I do feel like it's a kind of a tricky thing. But yeah, formula, breastfeeding is good for babies' digestive system, and it helps them, again, when they're learning, especially when they're learning how to, when you start solids and when they start eating food. And breast milk is there to help them wash it all down. And so their poop does change a little bit once they start eating food, but for the most part, like I said, breast milk is really clean. So you usually won't have too many problems with constipation or like diarrhea or just things like that, because it is tailor-made to the baby. So it's just always perfect for them. And another thing, or another benefit for babies that have been breastfed in their infancy, is that they have lower rates of obesity. And we know that as a nation, we are struggling with obesity. as adults, but breastfeeding is perfect. So again, breastfed babies can't overeat. When they're full, they typically will unlatch themselves, or fall asleep, and then then they're done for that meal or for that time. But with bottles or bottle feeding or formula, it's really really easy to overfeed the baby, and for them to kind of ignore their hunger cues. So then that leads to the same kind of thing once they get older and they're eating. And breastfeeding kind of helps them to be able to gauge when they're full a little bit better, and to be able to follow their feeding cues. And that's another reason why I emphasize feeding on demand, because it kind of teaches your baby's body how to do that on their own without you're putting certain amount of milk in a bottle and your baby finishing that whole entire thing, but they may not have actually been, or they may not have actually needed that amount, but they finished it, and then now they're overfed or they're overfull. So yeah, children that have been breastfed, they usually have lower rates of obesity in adulthood, which is awesome and great and excellent. And I feel like even if you look at certain babies that have been formula fed, sometimes they grow a little bit, or it seems like they grow a little bit faster than their peers, or put on more weight faster than their peers. And sometimes it's not always as healthy. So I'm just going to say that. Another good reason to breastfeed, or to think about breastfeeding, is that it helps with bonding. So because you're holding your baby, I love that you're explaining all this. Thank you, Esther. Thank you. Let me get some water, because I've been slacking. I've not been drinking enough water. Oh my gosh. I feel like Ace is probably going through a growth spurt too, because I've just been hot all of a sudden and just feel like I have to drink like gallons of water a day. So I'm pretty sure he is, because he's about to be 6 months. But yeah, it helps with bonding. And again, like I said, breastfeeding is something only mom can do. I mean, if you are getting donor milk, you can feed your baby breast milk that way. But dads can't breastfeed, or siblings can't breastfeed, so it really helps facilitate that bonding between you and baby. And for me, even with my yes, the bonding time is awesome. Yeah. Even with my like postpartum depression, I feel like breastfeeding helped me a lot, because I don't know, it's just something like special about holding your baby and nursing them. And I really like when they like fall asleep at breast, and I'm just rubbing or playing with their hair or playing with their hands, and giving them kisses or whatever. Like, they're always just right there. And I like that. I like that personally. So yeah, it does help with bonding, specifically between mom and baby, because and also again for me, I love the fact of knowing like I'm keeping this person alive strictly with my own body, if that makes sense. I mean, you do keep your baby alive, or you and God helps you keep your baby alive while you're pregnant. But when you're breastfeeding and before they start eating food is solely up to you, which is a big job. It's a big responsibility, but there's also a certain amount of pride in that. Like, you're able to do that for your baby, and you see your baby grow. You see your baby hold their head up for the first time, or you see your baby sit up, and that helped your nutrients from your breast milk help them to be able to reach those milestones and those developments, and it's just, I think it's so amazing. So when I am eating, I really do try to eat healthy, because I know that whatever I eat, they're eating also. So I just want to make sure that I can give them the best as far as nutrition goes and things like that. And I don't mention it that much, and I know my mom always gets mad, but I am a chef by trade. That's what I went to college for. So we did do a lot of study on nutrition, and so I'm just really into that personally. And so I just know, like, as much as I can give my kids the best when it comes to eating and drinking their water and exercising and all that, I try to do that. So breastfeeding to me is just a part of my wellness and my kids' wellness. It's like the little thing I can give them that I know will benefit them for their whole entire life. So yeah, I love that. It's empowering. Yeah, it is. That's the word I'm looking for. Empowering. Yes. Yes. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. It's empowering. It's empowering to know that I'm doing that. It's empowering to know that I did do that. Even with Saya, I'm going to get a little emotional. Even with Saya, because she was, so small. And she was, that birth was really traumatic. But it was like breastfeeding was one of the things that just went right for me. Like, I didn't have too many issues. And my mom was there to help me. And this is crazy. I can't believe I'm getting emotional about this. But it was like, because we had such a good experience with breastfeeding, I was like, I know I can do this. I know me and my baby are going to make it because I got this milk and I can see her thriving and growing and all of that. And so I just always remember that, especially when I look at her now. And she's such a big girl. Like, you would never know that she was a preemie. And that she was only 2 pounds 11 ounces at birth. Like, she's come such a long way. And I'm like, and I feel like I was such a big part of that just by being able to breastfeed her, So yeah, the breastfeeding has been amazing for me. And I just want other moms to feel that. Like, I get upset sometimes when women are constantly saying how hard breastfeeding is, and just, because I understand in our culture and in certain families where it's kind of looked down upon to breastfeed, and I understand the reasons why, like the history behind it all, and we were wet nurses and we weren't able to feed our own babies, and now we can feed our own babies, but some moms they just don't have the time. They're out working and they can't do it or whatever. But yeah, I'm really glad and grateful that I've been able to do that, and that's just, it's not something that anyone can ever take away from me. So it's a really big what a beautiful testimony. Your daughter is so beautiful too. Thank you. yes, thank you. And yes, thank God too, because that was a hard situation, but that breastfeeding was just perfect for us. Like, just perfect. And yeah, that was one of the things that helped me with that whole, not being able to take my baby home right away and all those weeks that she spent there. And so I want to help other moms just have a more positive, breastfeeding journey. Like, even if you run into problems with breastfeeding, you can troubleshoot it almost all the time, but you got to go to the right sources. If you go to the wrong people and they give you the wrong information, it may dismantle everything you're trying to do, or you go to people who are negative and they may discourage you from breastfeeding. And so that's not what we want to do. We want to build these moms up so that more of them are able to breastfeed, that they can breastfeed for however long that they want to breastfeed. Oh, and I did talk about breastfeeding being easy on the baby's tummy. And some other cool things about breastfeeding. Well, I'm not so sure if it can be a benefit, is that, it does burn so many calories a day. And I think that's why some moms, not me, are able to lose weight while they're breastfeeding, because your calorie demands when you're nursing are so high, like in comparison to when you're pregnant. So when you're pregnant, you only need about 300 to 500 extra calories a day in your third trimester, just to make sure that you're getting everything you need, to support you and support your baby's growth while they're in your stomach. But once they come out, if you're exclusively breastfeeding, you need at least 500 to 600 extra calories a day. And that is one of the reasons why I'm just so hungry all the time. Like, all the time I'm hungry. Intermittent fasting helps a little bit with like my sugar cravings, and helps me to eat like a little bit more orderly, because normally I have to eat like at least every 2 hours myself. Like, that's how I feel. And my body sometimes will be completely drained. And I have noticed lately though that I'm super hungry probably like every 3 hours or so. Sometimes I'll drink water just to make sure that, it's not actually thirst and that I'm actually hungry. But yeah, I have to have a little something all day long to keep up with the breast milk, to make sure my baby's getting enough milk, because he's taking so much from me. So I don't limit my calories. I just try to make sure that I'm eating, enough food, because I don't ever want to be in an issue where I don't have enough supply because I'm trying to limit my calories or something like that. But you do need a lot of calories. And so for moms whose bodies cooperate with them, because they are extending, that 500 to 600 calories a day, it does help your body to shed maybe some of that excess weight that you gained during pregnancy. And again, it helps your uterus to shrink back down to pre-pregnancy size. So all around, that's great. As far as mom bodies goes, it helps your body to get back into the groove of things. Another benefit to breastfeeding is that if you're breastfeeding, you typically will have a delayed postpartum period. And again, this is not specifically for me, because for most times I get my period back or my cycle back 3 to 5 months postpartum. But I know some women who are breastfeeding don't receive their cycle until they wean, which is awesome because it helps your body to naturally practice, family spacing. If you want to have more children in the future, but you don't want to have them back to back, which I don't recommend. It helps you to be able to gauge that a little bit. And I do want to do a video on this topic though, because even though you're breastfeeding, you can still get pregnant while you're breastfeeding. It has happened to me twice, and so I don't want you to see it as a fail proof, because it's definitely not. And you can ovulate before getting your cycle back, so that's something you kind of want to look out for. But for the most part, it's a benefit, because as long as you're exclusively breastfeeding, so before you introduce solids, your body will have a delayed postpartum cycle. So that's kind of cool too, because you're used to that 9 months of not having a cycle, and then for as long as you breastfeed, depending on your body's your specific body, you may have a delayed cycle, which is a benefit for you also as well. And the last thing that I want to say about breastfeeding was something that stuck out to me. Is that it's antifungal, anti-parasitic, antiviral, and anti something. But basically, like I was saying about a breastfed baby's poop, is really clean. So you don't have to worry about, when you're feeding from the breast, you don't have to worry about your milk being bad or spoiled or anything like that. If you are pumping, you definitely want to make sure that your pumped milk gets in refrigeration and frozen if you're not going to use it right away, as soon as possible. Because again, it is a living food, so it can go bad if you don't properly storage it. But it's no parasites in it. It's no it's a clean food. And I seen recently on Facebook, someone opened a brand new can of formula. So like I said, there's a shortage, it's expensive. They opened it. Oh, not formula, it was baby food, or was it? I'm not sure exactly, but they opened it up and it had maggots in it. That's just crazy. It's just crazy. And certain things that I learned in culinary school are allowed to be sold with a certain amount of creatures in it, as long as it's under a certain amount. I remember learning that about flour, and I was just like, that's crazy. It's just crazy, the stuff that we're eating as food, and it's supposed to be healthy, and no doubt they do whatever they want with the formulas. And that's one of the reasons for the recall also as well. So you don't have to worry about that, if you're breastfeeding, about it being safe for your baby to eat, or about your baby ingesting it. Is completely safe, 100%. So that's another good thing. And the last thing I wanted to mention, I'm just trying to see if I went over everything. Let me check real quick. I wrote some stuff down, but I think I read all these already, and there is definitely something else that I wanted to say about breastfeeding, or the benefits of breastfeeding. Okay, that's not it. Oh, okay, yeah. So the last encouragement that I want to leave you with is that even though breastfeeding is natural, so even though it's what our bodies are made to do, what it was designed to do, a lot of moms need help, learning how to breastfeed, or learning how to get their baby latched that first time, or what, a good latch is, or, how to know if their baby's getting enough milk and things like that. So it is natural, but you do most moms do need support. Like my mom was super supportive with me. Like when I was pumping, you like drink your water every single time, and I actually visibly noticed the difference versus when I would drink my water while I was pumping versus when I didn't. So like things like that, if you have someone there to tell you that, to help guide you, it makes a world of a difference. So yes, it's natural, and you would think that you just put baby on and it's going to be easier, free sailing from there, but a lot of times it's not. A lot of times you do need that support and that help in the beginning. So don't feel bad about that, or don't feel like why isn't it coming as easily to me as maybe someone else. You may just need that extra support, but that doesn't mean that you can't do it, and it doesn't mean that your body won't do it for you and your baby. So I think that's all that I wanted to share tonight here on this channel. I really have fun doing these lives, and I feel like I got out a lot of information. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for joining and commenting. I hope that something in these videos maybe open your eyes to certain things, or maybe made you encouraged if you are breastfeeding. If you plan on breastfeeding in the future, I hope you feel a little bit more empowered to breastfeed, and know that you always can go back and reference these videos. Let me just make sure that I don't miss anything on the chats. Okay. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all. Thank you all again for watching. I will leave the video that I posted today down in the description box of this video. And of course, I'm going to continue to make breastfeeding videos on this channel. So if there's something specifically that you want to see, you can always comment that. You can always shoot me like a message on Instagram or Facebook. If you're not following me on Facebook, I'm Tashima McRae on Facebook, and then Instagram shades_of_shades. I was gonna get it right this time. Shades of Sage _ for all of those words, TM _. So so that's what I am on there. And yeah, I thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to check out my sister Tiana Hicks's channel. So her channel name is Tiana Hicks. She talks about being a teacher, because she's an elementary school teacher. She talks about her micro-lock journey. She talks about other lock journeys. Mine's on there. Saya's lock journey is on there. And she also sews as well, and she sings, and she just does it all, really. So check out her channel, subscribe to her channel, like this video, share this video if you know someone who is currently pregnant, or someone that maybe is struggling with breastfeeding or wants to breastfeed in the future. Definitely share this video, and maybe it will help encourage them on their breastfeeding journeys. I hope you all have a good night and enjoy the rest of your week. I'm so glad that you were able to participate with me on my first year celebrating Black Breastfeeding Week. And who knows, maybe I'll do this again next year, because I feel like it was really special and cool to do this. So again, thank you for watching. Good night, and I'll see you in my next video next week. I'm definitely going to take a break and some rest. So good night and bye.